hay base. On that day, Rebbe Akiva expounded, and any earthenware utensil into which any of them falls, whatever is in it shall become tamei. It does not say tamei, but rather yitma, even to render others tamei. This teaches us that a loaf which is of a sheni degree of tuma can make a shlishi degree of tuma. Rabbi Yeshua said, "Who will remove the dust from your eyes, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai? For you used to say that a future generation will pronounce tahor, a loaf that was contaminated, as a shlishi. Since there is no verse in the Torah that is tamei, but now does not Akiva, disciple, adduce a verse from the Torah that is tamei, as it is said, whatever is in it shall be tamei." On that day, Rebbe Akiva expounded, and you shall measure from outside the city, from east side, 2,000 cubits. But another verse states from the wall of the city and outward, 1,000 cubits, roundabout. It is impossible to say 1,000 cubits since it already says 2,000 cubits, and it is impossible to say 2,000 since it already says 1,000. How do we resolve this? The 1,000 cubits are a clearing, while the 2,000 are in the Sabbath boundary. Now, Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Yossi Hagili, says the 1,000 cubits are a clearing, while the second 1,000 cubits are for field and vineyards. On that day, Rebbe Akiva expounded, then Moshe and the children of Israel sang the song to Hashem, and they spoke, saying, there is no necessity for the verse to say saying. What then is meant by saying? It teaches that the Israelites responded to Moshe after each phrase as they recite the Hallel. Therefore, it says saying. Rabbi Nechemiah says as when they recite the Shema, and not as when they recite Hallel.
Okay. Furthermore, so while we're talking about Bo Bayom, we've got another Bo Bayom drasha from Rabbi Yeshua ben Hyrcanus this time. Lo avad Eov is a Kadosh Baruch Hu ela me'ava. So they're having an argument about whether Eov, Job,
right,
served Hashem from love or from fear. Okay, Shenemar Hen yikteleni lo ayachel. So the pasuk in Eov says, even if he would kill me, I would still hope for him. I would still hope for him, right? And the drasha is on the word lo, because it could be lo as in lamed vav to him, or lo lamed aleph not. Okay, but lo ani mitzapeh or any mitzapeh. This is, am I hoping towards Hashem, or I would not hope? I do not hope for Hashem, because it's a kasev kri kind of situation where even though it sounds the same, it's written lo with a vav, but it's possible that it's a kri with an aleph. Okay. Talmud lomar. So how do we resolve this? It also says in Eov, ad egva lo asir tumasi nimeni. And until I die, I will not remove my purity, my wholesomeness from myself. Okay. So therefore, he says this clarifies the doubt that Eov was completely shalem with Hashem. He loved and he served Hashem from Abba. Amar Rabbi Yeshua again gets offended. Mi galeh afar me'enecha Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Who would roll remove the dust from your eyes? All your life you used to say that Eov was only serving Hashem from fear. It says Yirei Elokim. Okay, so he was Yarei Hashem, but he wasn't Ohev Hashem. Halo Yeshua Talmid Talmidcha Limeid Sheme'ava Asa. And he's coming and teaching that it was from love. And again, this is not something that we're going to pass in, because they're just arguing about what was with Eov, and we don't have any. There's no nafkamin as to what the real answer is. Yeah. Very five. Okay, so a man warned his wife, and she nonetheless secluded herself. Afilu shama me'ofa. Even if he heard from the chattering of birds. No, okay, obviously not literally. A little birdie told me. Maybe it is the expression of a little birdie told me. But basically, if he hears from somebody who's puzzled from Adus, for example, like just an Eved or a Shivcha, and they said, you know that your wife secluded herself. Now, Yotzi v'ten kesuba. So now this is not enough to make her drink, but it is enough to make him have to divorce her, because he warned her in front of witnesses, and now he knows that he hears that she's been secluded. So that doubt in his mind makes her asa to him, but it's not enough to pass her from a kesubah. So therefore, says Rabbi Eliezer. Now this is important. This is the words of Rabbi Eliezer. Now, if you recall from the very first Mishnah in our Masechta, what is the machlokes there? Is that Rabbi Eliezer says that he makes a drink only by one witness, right? So, but one kosher witness nonetheless. Okay. So, whereas Rabbi Yeshua in the first Mishnah says no, both have to be with two witnesses. So Rabbi Eliezer over here again is saying, well, this is not a kosher witness, so therefore he doesn't make her drink. But since he now believes that she has secluded herself, she's now asa to him, and therefore he has to divorce her and give her kesubah. Rabbi Yeshua omer ad sheyisu v'yitznu ba mozeros balabana. Says that's just a little rumor is not enough. That he has to divorce her. First of all, he has a higher bar to make her drink, because he requires two witnesses to her hysteria. So just because some Eved came and told him that she was an hysteria doesn't mean that he has to do anything. It's only when she becomes the subject of gossip, and everyone knows that he warned her, and now people are talking about the fact that she went and secluded herself. It becomes a bit of a shanda. And therefore, he's not allowed to remain married to her, and he has to. But he doesn't have enough evidence to take her to Beis Din, and therefore it has to. Therefore, he has to divorce her and give her a kesubah. Mishna based. Amar Eid Echad. Now comes a single witness. Ani reisiha shenitmeis. I didn't just see that she secluded herself. I actually saw her having relations with the guy. Lo haisa shosa. Then, even if he has two witnesses to the stira, he was going to take her to be a sotah. But then another witness, a single witness, comes and says, "I actually saw them doing it." Okay. Lo haisa shosa. That means that she does not drink. V'lo od. Afilu eved afilu shifcha harei elu ne'emanim af leposta mikesubasa. So even if it's a non-kosher aid, so you do require. Nonetheless, that there were two Adim of the stira. So the stira was witnessed by kosher Adim, and at this point, she would otherwise be going to the temple to be a sotah, and now a shifcha comes and says, I saw them in the act, and that says, okay, there's nothing else to do over here. We can't make her drink. We've got even the flimsy evidence of this shifcha is enough to say that she must not drink, and he must divorce her without a kesubah. Chamosa ubas chamosa v'tzarasa v'yivimta ubas bala. Remember these 5 relationships? We saw them in Yevamos. Right? They're the people. Everyone else is believed to say that her husband died, except for these 5 people. We don't believe them because they are rivals, and they're suspected that they want to cause her damage. Okay, so he has a perfect case where they any one of them can pipe up and say, yeah, I saw them in the act, and therefore she's going to have to be divorced and lose her kesubah. Okay, no, yes, they are believed. They're only believed that she shouldn't drink the sort of water, but because it's them who are making the statement, then the husband is forced to divorce her and give her a kesubah. So you put a bit of friction on them so that they shouldn't be so quick to jump in and say, yeah, we saw that she did it.
Right.
Because up until then, before they were Eid Esther, if they'd gotten up and said, no, we saw her doing this, we would have laughed it off. They said, okay, you're rivals, we don't accept your testimony. Now that they've been witnesses, and even the shifcha is believed to say that she actually did the act. So now they say, oh, here's my opportunity. I can come in and mess her up, and she can lose her kesubah. So dafka for them, we say, but he has to divorce her. Okay, that is unavoidable, but she's going to get a kesubah from this. Okay, and that's our new Mishnah for today. Aleph test.
Aleph test. And so too for good, Miriam waited for Moshe 1 hour, as it is stated, and his sister stationed herself from afar. Therefore, Israel delayed for her 7 days in the desert, as it is stated, and the people did not travel until Miriam was brought in. Joseph was privileged to bury his father, and none of his brothers were greater than he, as it is stated, So Joseph went to bury his father, and he brought up with him both chariots and horsemen. Who was treated with much honor as Joseph, none other than Moses attended to him. Moshe was a privilege to attend to the bones of Joseph, and there was none in Israel greater than him. As it is stated, Moshe took the bones of Joseph with him. Who was treated with greater honor than Moshe? Then none but the Almighty attended to him, as it is stated, and he buried him in the valley. And not of Moshe alone did they say so, but all the righteous and as it is stated, and your righteous shall go before you, and the glory of Hashem shall gather you in. He brought her mincha offering in an Egyptian basket and put it in her hands as to tire her. All mincha offerings start and finish in the service vessels, but this one starts in the Egyptian basket and finishes in the service vessels. All mincha offerings require oil and frankincense, but this one requires neither oil nor frankincense. And all mincha offerings are wheat, but this one is of barley. The mincha offering of the omer, though a barley flour, is of sifted flour, and this one is of unsifted flour. Rabbi Gamliel says, just as her deeds were like those of an animal, so her offering is from the food of animals. He brought a new earthenware cup and put it in a half a log of water from the kior into it. Yehuda said, a quarter of a log, just as he minimizes the amount of writing required, so he minimizes the amount of water required. He entered the sanctuary and turned to his right, where there was a good spot, 1 cubit for 1 cubit for a marble flagstone with a ring fixed in it. And when he raised it, he took dust from beneath it. He added enough to be visible the dust from beneath it. He added enough to be visible on the water, as it is stated, and the Kohen shall take from him the dust that will be in the tabernacle floor and add to it to the water. When he comes to write the scroll,
done.
that's it? Okay.
Nedarim testes.
They can find grounds to annul a person's nether by reason of his own honor or the honor of his children. They say to him, if you would have known that tomorrow they would be say about you such and such as the habit of so and so, he divorces his wives, and about your daughters they will say, they are daughters of a divorced women. What did the mother see about to bring about the divorce? Would you have vowed? If he had said, I had known that this would be so, I would not have vowed. It is permissible. If one says, Kona, I'm marrying so-and-so, the ugly, and in fact she is good looking, dark, and she is fair, short, and she is tall, he has permitted her. This is not because she was ugly and became good looking, or dark and became fair, or short and became tall, but because the nether was full grown. It happened once that someone made a nether prohibiting benefits from his sister's daughter, and they brought her to Yishmael's house and made her beautiful. Yishmael said to him, my son, regarding this woman, did you know vow? He said to him, no. Thereupon Yishmael permitted her. At that time Yishmael wept and said, the daughters of Israel are beautiful, but poverty makes them ugly. When Yishmael heard, the daughters of Israel raised a lament, saying, daughters of Israel weep over Yishmael, and so too it about Shmuel. Daughters of Israel weep over Shmuel. Okay.
That was actually Shaul.
Excuse me?
Shaul, not Shmuel.
What did I say? Oh, Shaul. All right, you're right.
Okay.
Sorry.
I take that personally, you know.
I was going to say, I didn't mean to do that to you. Okay, here we go.
One more.
Yeah.
One more.
Oh, one more. I think you said stop.
One more in the Nedarim, yeah.
Okay. Nahara, who's betrothed the father and her husband revoke in the Nedarim. If the father revoked the neder, but the husband did not revoke it, or if the husband did revoke it, but the father did not revoke it, it is revoked. And certainly this is so if one of them confirmed the neder. Okay. Tara.
No, Yevamos first.
Yevamos. Rabbi Gamliel says there is no validity to a bill of divorce. And after a bill of divorce, nor to a mama after a mama, nor to cohabitation after cohabitation, but nor to kalitza after kalitza. The sages, however, say there is validity to a bill of divorce after a bill of divorce, and to mama after mama, but after cohabitation after kalitza, there is nothing. How so? He performed mama with his rivama and then gave her a full bill of divorce. She requires kalitza from him. If he performed mama with her and then kalitza, she requires a bill of divorce from him. If she performed mama with and then cohabitated with it, it is done properly. If he gave her a bill of divorce and then mama, if she requires a bill of divorce, and kalitza, if he gave her a bill of divorce and then cohabitated with it, she requires a bill of divorce and kalitza. He gave her a bill of divorce and then kalitza, there is nothing after kalitza. If he performed kalitza with her and then performed mama with her, or gave her a bill of divorce or cohabitated with her, if he cohabitated with her and then performed mama, and he gave her a bill of divorce or performed kalitza with her, There is nothing after Chalitza. This is the same way there is one Rob Yama with one Yavam, or two Yavamos with one Yavam.
Okay.
One more.
Right. Shabbos.
Shabbos Zion.
Aleph
Beit
Ches.
Shammai said,
Aleph Ches.
Ches?
Yeah.
Beit Shammai said, we may not give hides to a Gentile tanner or clothing to a Gentile launderer unless there is sufficient time that they be completed while it is yet day. In all these cases, Reb Hillel permits the act while the sun is still up. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamil says, my father's household used to give white clothes to a Gentile launderer 3 days before Shabbos, and both concur that we may place the beams of the olive press and the rollers of the wine press. We may not roast meat, onions, or eggs unless there is sufficient time for them to become roasted while it is yet day. We may not place bread in the oven near nightfall, nor may we a cake upon coals unless there is sufficient time for its upper surface to form a crust while it is yet day. And Rabbi Eliezer says sufficient time for its bottom surface to form a crust.
Okay.
Clara. Concerning valid ashes that became mixed with ashes from a stove. We follow the next majority with regard to conveying truma, but we may not make contest with the mixture. Whoever Eliezer says we can concentrate and make contest with all of the mixture. Regarding one katas that became disqualified, it remembers tummy someone who was tahar for truma and through contact with his hands and his body. But with respect to someone who is tahar for katas, it remembers in tummy without tummy neither through contact with his hands nor contact with his body. If the make contest becomes tummy and is rendered tummy one, it remembers tummy one who is tahor for tummy through contact with his hands or his body. And with respect to someone who is tahor for katos, it renders him tummy through contact with this hand, so they would not through the contact with his body. Okay.
Not through contact with his body, yeah.
With some respect to someone who is tahor for katos, it renders him tummy through contact with his hands and not through contact with his body. If one places valid para aduma ashes in water that is not suitable for consecration, the water renders tummy someone who is tahor. For truma through contact with his hands and through contact with his body, but with respect to someone who is tahor for katos, it renders him tummy. Tummy neither through the contact with his hands nor with contact with his body.
Okay. And Zavachim.
Zavachim. All katos offerings mentioned in the Torah precede ashes.
Asham.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong. All katos offerings mentioned in the Torah precede asham offerings, except for the asham offering of the mitzvah, because it is brought to make a mitzvah fit. All asham offerings mentioned in the Torah must be in the sacred second year and must be worth at least 2 silver shekels, except for the asham offering of a nazir and the asham offering of a mitzvah, which must be in the first year and not need worth 2 shekels. Just as they precede one another in their offering, so they precede another in their consumption. A shalom offering of yesterday and a shalom offering of yesterday, that is a nashim. No, I'm sorry. Of yesterday, that is a yesterday which takes precedence. Between a shalom offering of yesterday and a katos and a shalom offering of today, that of yesterday takes precedence. These are the words of Reb Meir, but the comments say the katos offering takes precedence because it is the most holy offering. Regarding all of these, the Kohen may vary the manner of the consumption to eat them roasted, overcooked, or cooked, and to add them to non-sacred spices and spices of truma. There are words of Shimon ben. These are the words of Reb Shimon ben Meir.
Shimon. Stay.
But Shimon and Reb Meir says.
Reb Meir says.
Reb Meir says one who may not add spices of truma to them, so that they not expose the truma to disqualification.
Right, because truma doesn't have a time limit. But as soon as you add truma to the korban, it now has the time limit starts ticking of whether of how long it can be eaten. So that's Rabbi Meir's concern about the truma. That's it for today.
So I read so fast that I mix up those words. Yeah, you have to write.
You're anxious to get me going. Thank you very much.
Have a great day. Enjoy. Thank
Have a
you.
good day. Bye.